OnePlus 7 Pro 1 month later. That video's coming up right now. Let's go. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, and welcome to my OnePlus 7 Pro 1 month later video. Now, I've used this thing extensively now for over a month, and I want to share with you my experience so far. And we will tackle some of the issues many people have been having, like the ghost touch issue, as well as people saying that the 90 hertz display drains more battery, the wide angle camera is not as good as the standard camera, and so on. So let me start with ghost touch. Now, I can confirm that this issue does take place. I had it happen on Instagram. It actually deleted some of my messages. It just spazzed out and just started pressing things by itself and caused, some of my messages to get deleted. I was pretty upset with the phone at that point, but I've since gotten over it. And you know what? Ever since a 9.57 update, I haven't really had that issue. Now, if I go into settings here, I know the 9.58 is out. I'm still on 9.57, haven't had it rolled out to my phone just yet. Now, with the 90 hertz, I can confirm that it does display, a little bit less battery life when you do use it. So if I go into display, and then I go to 90 hertz screen refresh, you will get worse battery life if you have 90 hertz on. Now, I recommend if you're using this phone to put on the auto switch functionality. This will save you some battery in the long term, because if you put on QHD plus, it will always be in the highest resolution and always on the 90 hertz. And it's just gonna really drain up the battery really quickly compared to having it on auto switch. So go ahead and leave auto switch on if you are using OnePlus 7 Pro. And in addition, the wide angle camera, I can confirm, is not as high quality as the single camera. A lot of people have been saying that the single camera is so much better, and I agree with that. I've used them, and I'm really not so impressed with that wide angle camera versus the single camera on the OnePlus 7 Pro. So those are some of the issues, and one thing I really wish OnePlus would have done with the OnePlus 7 Pro, and I hope they do with the next one, is make a smaller version of this phone, like this same exact phone, not the OnePlus 7 that already exists. I'm talking about this exact phone, this type of phone, but smaller. So your premier phone, but just a smaller edition as well. Okay, so we covered some of the negative things about it. Now let's cover the positive things about this phone. So in 1 month, I gotta say, I absolutely love this Nebula Blue. And the reason why is because it doesn't really attract fingerprints at all, and it just really has this nice matte looking color. I really enjoy this Nebula Blue, mostly for the fact that it's not super reflective and it doesn't, attract fingerprints. So really been enjoying the Nebula Blue here for the OnePlus 7 Pro. I think it's probably one of the best colors that they do offer. The almond color, that limited edition, is pretty nice too though. After 1 month, my thoughts on how premium this phone feels are incredible, because OnePlus 7, is not quite as nice as OnePlus 7 Pro and OnePlus 6T. These other phones, OnePlus never has made a phone to me that felt as premium as, say the Samsung Galaxy phones or say the iPhone series. This phone is right up there with them. I really couldn't tell in terms of feeling the hand that it was any, inferior or anything like that. So I think they nailed it with the phone just feeling the part. That doesn't mean that it didn't make some shortcuts. It did, but it definitely feels the part. It feels like a flagship premium phone, and I really did enjoy that after 1 month. Now, yes, it's not stainless steel sides. It doesn't have, probably the most shiny back. It has a more matte color, but still, the phone feels in the hand like a premium device for sure. I also like the button placement. I think my thumb rests right where the power button is. Also, the silent switch is right where I would want it, so I do like that. And over here on the left side, the volume rockers are in a pretty nice spot, so they're not too high up on the phone. Do like the button placement for the OnePlus 7 Pro as well. Okay guys, so let's talk about the display with the OnePlus 7 Pro. Probably the main reason why you would buy this phone. No notch, no cutout, stuff like that. And this really has made a difference in me enjoying the experience on this phone. Now, if I go into settings, one of my favorite things is the ability to change between vivid, natural, and tweaking it to your own liking with AMOLED wide gamut, sRGB, or display P3 options, where you can go ahead and fine tune the display to really match your eyes' personal preference. You also have the ability to change it into dark modes, light modes, or colorful modes, depending on your taste. And you could change your accent colors, kind of like what you could do on the Windows phones back in the day. In addition to that, this does give you ambient display, which is going to be like an always on display. You could change some clock styles and stuff like that. So plenty of customization and options for using this large display that is included here with the OnePlus 7 Pro. One of my favorite things being that it's QHD resolution, a first for OnePlus series devices, and that's been great. Now, let me show you some of my favorite things about this panel that I've loved the most. So when I'm in the internet reading, for example, I don't have any distractions up here up top that are, distracting me from the content that I am reading when I'm in articles and stuff like that. It really is a fantastic experience up here, as sometimes I'll be looking at the notch or the cutout when I'm reading, and it just distracts me when having a reading session. Next up is when I go into YouTube and I'm watching a video. Yeah, we have that 16:9 resolution right there just fine, but when we pinch all the way in, you can see that it's the full experience here on the OnePlus 7 Pro. Now, this doesn't really seem like it's gonna be too big of a difference until you actually start using it and you realize that it's just such an immersive experience when watching a video on YouTube, for example. So really do love this about the OnePlus 7 Pro. Just a media powerhouse here in this device. So overall, I think this is probably my favorite display all year in terms of how the experience is to use it so far. I'm not saying it's the best overall, in terms of the actual quality of the panel. That probably would go to the S10 Plus, but the experience of it has been the best for me all year long in the OnePlus 7 Pro. Just the experience of using this panel. This is what I want to see going forward on other manufacturers' phones. Next up is the security and biometrics of this phone. This fingerprint scanner under the display of OnePlus has been fantastic. It's way faster than the one I used on the S10 Plus. Now, some argue, well, it's not an ultrasonic. That one is better, and you can turn it on with the display off. You can't do that here on the OnePlus 7 Pro, but you can just quickly double tap and get in anyway. So there you go. Now, one thing I will say is that because there's an included screen protector, I use the OnePlus 7 Pro without a screen protector on it as well, and it's a little faster when you don't have a screen protector on the phone, so keep that in mind. Also, I do think that this face unlock feature up here is quite quick as well. Even though the camera pops out, it comes up very fast, and it's still one of the fastest face unlock experiences out there, even though it pops up with its own camera mechanism. But for me, I mostly used the under display fingerprint sensor, and it's been a joy. I missed a couple times. It's not 100%, but it's very fast and it was enjoyable. So here's Oxygen OS. We're gonna talk about the software now, and you can see I'm up to date and I still haven't got the 9.58, which is supposed to improve some touch issues and as well as color and contrast. So overall, I gotta say that at first, when you get on Oxygen OS, if you come from Apple, for example, it's going to be quite a difference when it comes to customization. There's so much going on. If you come from Samsung, however, it's going to feel like a much lighter experience than the Samsung feature set, because the Samsung feature set is really rich and deep, and also just kind of overwhelming sometimes. So you'll probably feel like it's a refreshing change from a Samsung, but you'll have to get used to it if you come from an iPhone. For me, this one right here, what I loved about it is just that it kind of got out of the way. It reminded me more of what the Apple experience does. Not to say it's anything like the Apple experience, just saying that it's a light enough software that when you're using the apps, you don't really think about looking for features. It's kind of simple to use. You just scroll up and you got all your applications. You got your home screens right here. And that's about it. It's pretty pure in the experience. And I really did enjoy that about the OnePlus 7 Pro. I think if you're a customization head, you got plenty going on here. And I really like the ability to change my different ways of navigating this phone between back home, like the Pixel. Also, I can do the back home recents, and I can hide those recents as well. And navigation is the one I prefer, the navigation gestures. That's the one I like the most here for the OnePlus 7 Pro. But I do like the ability to have those options. So for me, I gotta say that the OnePlus 7 Pro Oxygen OS has been a pure, simple, light experience. And 1 month later, it's been very smooth, very fast. Few ghost touch issues, but I think OnePlus is working very hard to get this software up to date, as they've been updating it quite frequently every week or so. Performance of this device, do we even need this section? I think we're gonna move on from here. 855, 12 gigabytes of RAM, UFS 3.0 storage. This thing is an absolute monster in performance. I really don't have much to say. Phones have gotten so fast that we don't even think about this really anymore. You know, I mean, it kind of reminds me of cars. You know, most cars will get you point A to point B, and most phones these days will get you point A to point B and do it very fast. And the OnePlus 7 Pro does it faster than most. So I don't got much to say about it. It's been rock solid performance. No really lags or stutters on this phone in terms of just, you know, day-to-day, you know, operation. I haven't really noticed much of that. I just use the phone and it's been very fast. So you'll be very happy with speed and performance with the OnePlus 7 Pro, no doubt. So I want to mention the storage. I used about 35.94 gigabytes out of 256 gigabytes. I think having the option for 256 gigabytes is great. It's plenty of internal storage and it's fast internal storage as well. No expandable memory, which would have been nice, but at the same time, I think 256 gigabytes should be enough for the duration of the usage of the OnePlus 7 Pro. So definitely do appreciate having that much storage on this device, but you have to go up to their highest end model to get that storage. Okay, so the next thing, in 1 month I've been using the camera. I gotta say that I'm happy with the camera. That doesn't mean I'm overly impressed with it. It does have this wide angle. Like I say, the quality diminishes quite a bit in the wide angle, but I do like the ability to go 3x over here on that zoom. And I think in good daylighting, this phone does a pretty stellar job on the camera. I'm not gonna say that it's the best on the market. For me so far, the best phone on the market for just pure photo quality has been the Pixel that I have used, the Pixel 3 series devices. The funnest camera with the most versatility but still giving you quality has been the Galaxy phones. But this one is just behind them for me in that experience. And having no stabilization or super steady modes for like video, things like that, has pushed the OnePlus 7 Pro a little bit behind for me when it comes to video. And also, it's really hard to beat that 4K 60 frames a second quality that you get from the iPhone series. So overall, I gotta say that this camera doesn't disappoint me. I should also note that the front-facing camera, although it pops up, has been quite sharp on this phone. So if you do like taking selfies, I think the OnePlus 7 Pro will please you just fine. It's also pretty quick to do so, and the angle is decently wide enough to get some people in the shot. So definitely this is a good front-facing camera for me. Okay, so speaking on the audio experience with this phone, these devices, was that I thought about when a new phone launches later this year, the new iPhones, the Pixel 4, are you gonna be... These aren't the loudest speakers that I've heard on a phone, but they're very full even at their highest volume. So the experience of them has been excellent. A little bit, you know, jealous of those new phones? Are you gonna have a little bit of buyer's remorse? Note 10 Pro comes out. Are you gonna care too much? And I think if you can see that the bottom one is significantly louder. The S10e, the S10, the S10 Plus, you might maybe consider. But when you plug in headphones, you also have Dolby Atmos. For me, the audio experience without a headphone jack, some prior OnePlus phones had that headphone jack. You might miss it here, but you'll like the dual speakers that are on this OnePlus 7 Pro. They work really great. So my phone calling experience with the OnePlus 7 Pro has been not perfect, but it's been really good with reception. So when it comes to holding on to reception, thumbs up. Also, I gotta say that LTE connectivity was really strong on this phone, fast pretty much wherever I was. I really loved the mobile data connectivity that I got on this device. But I gotta say, there's only one thing I noticed about some other phones. The earpiece is not quite as loud in calls. Also, the speaker is not quite as loud when talking to people through the speakerphone. So those are just some little gripes I have with it. But overall, in terms of reception, holding on to a phone call, holding on to 4G LTE data, things like that, this has been a fantastic device to use. So when it comes to battery life, we have a 4,000 milliamp hour cell in here. And I gotta say, this is not gonna be long on the battery life section. It's a one-day phone. It doesn't get much more than that. I don't have a big issue with the battery life because while I do think, you know, for this size, I would think it would go into 2 days. 1 day is plenty enough for a smartphone. We're kind of used to that. And the ability to charge this thing incredibly fast and faster than most in the industry has been very fun. So for me, battery life is pretty decent. So here we are at the end of 1 month using the OnePlus 7 Pro. And the question is it really worth it, you know, maybe over a Samsung device, an Apple device? And yes, if you want more value, you want more bang for your buck. That's the best way I can put it for the OnePlus 7 Pro. It gives you really so much and has a future-proof design. You do have some shortcomings with no wireless charging on board. I don't think that's gonna bother too many people, but I gotta say the warp charging has been fantastic for this phone. And you also get, a premium feel, something you haven't seen at many OnePlus phones, a QHD display. Battery life is definitely a day long. It's just not going to be battery life that's gonna stretch much further than that. I think it's a great option if you're looking for the most bang for your buck you can get out of a smartphone. It doesn't mean it's the best for everybody, but I think it's the best for its current price point. Nobody's really touching it around that $600, $700 price point in terms of a brand new phone 2019. Anyway, if you guys found this video helpful, entertaining, informing, do me a favor, click that like button for me. If you're new here, consider subscribing for more. Questions, comments, concerns, drop them down below. Thank you very much for watching. Nick here helping you to master your technology. Be sure to be well and peace.